Welcome back, guys. I got 10 creepypastas for you today. Some are made for me and Sam, and some are not, and some of them are true. Um, I'm gonna have some special effects in the background, like sounds. They're not gonna sound good because they're from another, um, let's just call it an iPhone or iPod or whatever. So they're not gonna sound as good, but let's continue. With story number 1 today. Me and a couple of friends were at a campfire site, having campfire on, midnight music on, and that beautiful sky. We were roasting marshmallows, having a great time. Couple hours passed by, and we all started laughing, talking. All of a sudden, we all got silent. We all looked to the other side of the river. We all felt that someone was staring at us, but we ignored it and kept roasting marshmallows. Couple minutes later, we heard this. What the hell? We all looked, trying to find where we saw it, but we couldn't find anything. And then we heard it again. We looked at the other side of the river, trying to look who the hell could it be. But we couldn't find anything. But this time, we all got guns from the truck and waited and looked at the other side of the river and see if we could see the person. But then, we heard the scream on our side of the river. We all ran for the truck, rushing in, pushing in, and then we heard the scream right at the campfire where we are. We put the pedal to the gas and we drifted away. None of us looked behind because we never wanted to see who or what that thing was. Story number 2. The closet. I had a daughter who was 9 years old who would always talk to this kid across the street, our neighbor. But this kid was weird. This kid would torture animals, talk about stuff under the bed, and he said he'd see stuff that no other human could see. This was a weird kid to me, but I ignored it. He started talking to my daughter a lot, and then he started visiting us just so he could talk to my daughter. And then he asked for my daughter's phone number. And then he asked me if he could go out with her. That's where I drew the line, and I kicked him out of the house and told him he could never come back. My daughter went on a sleepover with her friends. My wife was away with her friends watching movies. I was stuck alone in the house. I fell asleep and woke up at 2:03 a.m. by the sound of my phone ringing. I got up to answer it. It was the neighbors across the street with that weird kid. They asked me, why are you still up? It's late. And I told them I barely woke up because you called me. And they said, there's a light in the second floor room. I thought that was you. And there's a shadow walking across the cross. And I asked, excuse me? There's someone in your second floor walking across a window. I ran out, went to the neighbor's house and called the cops. The cops went in. Went to the second floor, opened the door to see that kid, the neighbor. They arrested him. That reminded me. My daughter was always talking about a monster in her closet always watching her. I never knew it was this kid. Story number 3. A teacher named Miss Mel and a student were at the school. The teacher was tutoring the kid like math and all those problems. It was getting too late, and the teen asked if he could stay at the house, that his parents weren't home. The teacher hesitated too many times but finally got convinced. They got home, the teen put a blanket on the floor to sleep on and went to sleep. The teacher also fell asleep but on the bed. The teen then woke. A couple hours later, the student then woke up, only to wake up the teacher and ask, "I'm really hungry. Can we go get something to eat?" The teacher looked at the clock. "It's 2:07 a.m. You want to go get something to eat? Please, I'm really hungry." The teacher said, "There's some ramen in the kitchen. Help yourself." And he said, "No. There's a 24-hour street diner at the bottom of the street. Let's go." The teacher hesitated a lot of times but then got convinced. They went out the apartment, got in the car, and started driving. The student then said, "I'm not hungry. It's just there was a man under your bed, sleeping." Story number 4. It was my first time as a shift in the camping grounds. At nighttime, this was my first time shift. I already worked in the day shift, but the other guy didn't want to work in the night shift no more. He told me all the things that had to happen, and then he told me this one specific thing. There's a phone that always rings at 4 a.m. and it just rings. And I told him, okay, I'll take a look at that. He said he's never answered it before, but I'm pretty sure it's just nothing. It is my first time in day shift. I mean night shift, I'm sorry. I decided to take a look at that phone. So I went to the phone at 3:55 a.m. and waited till it turned 4. It turned 4. The phone started ringing. I picked it up, hesitating a few times, only to hear nothing but silence. I kept answering the phone for 2 weeks straight, but there was nothing but silence. One day, the phone didn't ring at all for a week straight, and then the phone rang. The next week, I picked it up only to hear heavy breathing, and then it said, "Fred." "How do you know my name?" The phone hung up by itself. The next day, I waited for the phone, but it didn't ring. For 3 days later, it rang, and then I picked it up and asked in anger, "Who are you and how do you know me?" The spirit then said, "I know you because I'm right behind you." Hold up, what was another story, dude? I looked at the clock and it was flashing 12:07 a.m. as she was putting her long, rotting nails into my chest and her other hand covering my muffled mouth. I woke up relieved it was just a dream, but when I looked at my clock, it was 12:06. I heard the closet door creaking open. It was 11:21 when I went to bed, feeling alright and okay that I had a good day. But then I heard, and it was at the direction of my window. I looked at my window to see nothing there, so I went to sleep and ignored it. At 2:07 a.m. I heard at my window again. I looked to my window but didn't see anything, so I stand up, got to my window and started looking everywhere, but didn't find anything. I couldn't find any explanation but the window creaking, so I went back to bed just thinking that. At 5:07 a.m. I heard, looked at my window, and there was a man outside the window staring directly at me. He wouldn't stop staring. I told him to go away. I closed my eyes. A couple seconds later I opened them just to see him gone. I went back to bed in fear. 7 a.m. I heard the front door open and close. I went downstairs only to find my parents dead, and on my wall, written in blood, said, "You should have let me in." I got a pizza delivery call at this specific house. I didn't feel okay since it was a midnight job, but I went anyways. I was the only one working at the time, and I was the one who got the call. It was a weird man who sounded strange, but I went anyways. I knocked on his door, and I heard, "Go around the back." I said, "Sure, sir, are you sure? I mean, I could just drop it off here and you could give me the money." And he said, "I'm sure." And I could hear the footsteps go away. I was scared, but I didn't want to lose my job, so I went to the back. In the back, there was a patio, a shed, and a table with chairs in the middle. There, on the chairs, there was a woman sitting there. I said, "Excuse me, ma'am?" I turned around only to find a man there, smiling. Not a normal smile, but a creepy smile. A smile that disturbed me. He said, "Come here. I want to show you something." I ran the other direction, ran past the woman and went to my car. I drove away, but as I looked at the window, the man was still smiling and staring at me. I drove away. I called the police, and they told me the house has been abandoned for 10 years. A man murdered his wife in the backyard, in the patio. Well, the strangest 911 call was about a man who called 911 because apparently he saw a person outside with his head chopped off. Not entirely, but his brain was it wasn't in there, and he was turning slowly into him. The man ran inside and got into his closet and called 911. As the message kept going on, you could hear the man say, "Go away, go away." You could hear banging on the door. The 911 operator said, "Sir, are you okay?" And all you hear is pure screaming. Ah! Ah! Not to figure it out. I couldn't find anything else on this 911 call. It's on YouTube. I'll put the